We good? Right, good evening everyone. Welcome to the meeting of Oswestry Town Council on the 15th of January 2025. Item 1 is public participation, but we have no members of the public present. Are there any online?
No, we've only got colleague Henry online.
Thank you. Okay, so moving on to item 2. Apologies for absence, please.
We've got Councillor Kerr, Councillor Rose, Councillor Jones, Councillor Stackhouse, Councillor Radford, Councillor Milner, Councillor Price, Councillor Chadwick, Councillor Cassin, Councillor Wadey. Councillor Davis has submitted his apologies, but he is trying his best to get home on the train. But yeah, so he will try and join us. So those are the apologies, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Move we note. All in favour? Thank you. 2B then, disclosure of councillors' interests in any matters in relation to the Code of Conduct. Looking around, can you indicate if you wish to speak? Nope. Thank you. Okay, so no interests recorded. Item 3, the minutes. Move we note. Thank you. For minutes from council meeting on the 11th of December 2024. I'll second. All in favour? Thank you. Can I borrow that pen then, please? Thank you. Okay. Item 4. Okay, hang on. You going for the record or something tonight? Subcommittees, so we're looking at, and working groups. So we're looking at 4A is the Youth Services Partnership Panel. For the record, it was held on the 16th of December 2025, but was not quorate. And item 4B, the Markets Performance and Liaison Panel, minutes attached of the meeting held on the 18th of December 2024. So it's been moved. We note those minutes. I'll second. All in favour? Thank you. Item 5.
We've got
Sorry.
the public come to join us now.
That's great.
So just for the record, on relating to the Youth Services Partnership Panel, that's the second time that group hasn't been able to meet. It is a priority for the council. You know, youth services is a key way of delivering those. I think we will need to take a look at the membership of that group. I don't think it's scheduled to meet again before the end of this council's term, but I'd recommend you having a good look at that alongside the partnerships, as I'm sure you will do. Yeah,
thank you. Yeah, it's an important point, really, isn't it? That if we've put our names down, we should make every effort to attend what we've committed to, but obviously understand that people can't always. But we are warned quite far in advance about the schedule of meetings. So, and I'm as guilty as everyone at the moment. I know that. Can I just ask the member of the public that has just joined? Could you indicate if you were wanting to speak during public session or ask any questions? I think we've got Paul Rogers. Okay, thanks very much. It's just, although there were no other members of the public and so we didn't have public session, I was going to suspend standing orders to let you speak had you wished to, but that's fine. It's good to have you on the line though, thank you. So, item 5 is any questions that we've received in accordance with standing orders upon which formal notice has been given.
I can report that no questions have been submitted.
Thank you. And item 6, estimates of income and expenditure for 2025-26 financial year. Do have to point out that any member with council tax unpaid for more than 2 months is prohibited from voting on the budget or precept by section 106 of the Local Government Finance Act of 1992 and must disclose at the start of the meeting that section 106 applies to them. So the fact that no one has disclosed, I'm assuming that we're all okay, because obviously with numbers as they are, it wouldn't take many of us for us not to be able to vote on the budget,
It's also a criminal offence.
and it would also be a criminal offence. Okay, thank you. So this is the budget setting item. So we have in front of us the report from our finance officer, and I'll hand over to Aaron just to introduce the item.
So even though we're few in numbers, I think it's worthwhile just recognising that setting the budget is a really important job for the council. Looking after the public funds is your main responsibility. And we're fortunate at Oswestry Town Council that we can deliver what we do and contribute in the way that we do to public life because we're in a strong financial position. And this has been the case for a very long time, and it's because members have consistently taken a long-term view of our finances. Remember, the budget setting isn't just about the council tax or the precept, it is also about fees and charges and looking at our capital programme, for example. So, please take that in mind when you're looking at the figures and determining, making your decision. The budget parameters are those that you've established. They're part of our medium-term financial strategy. So it's using the Smithfield capital receipt, not increasing car parking, and focusing on our priorities. That's been the general view of this council, and we've taken that forward here. But inevitably here there are always some risks and unknowns. As with any institution. But we're lucky in that we've been able to find some sort of buffer between, over the last few years with these. So, as I say, we're in a very strong financial position. The report itself details the key issues for you to think about. The document attached to it is the cost centre analysis. You'll see, and that's just a detailed breakdown of our spend. There are some changes over the last couple of years on these, as Helen's coming in and focusing some of the spend in the right areas where it may not have been in the right areas previously, but it doesn't affect the overall financial position. So the recommendation here is that Oswestry Town Council reduces its balances, and that's in line with its long-term aim. And this financial year it'll be doing so to the tune of 55,498, and that's a recommendation. So we'll be setting an income budget of 2072, and 72 pounds. Oh, I can't even say that. 2072,005. So just over £2 million, which is probably our highest income budget we've set, and an expenditure budget of just over 2.6 million. You'll be utilising the Smithfield capital receipt of 565,000. With that comes some risk, doesn't it? Because the capital windfall gives you a little bit of income. It gives you income from interest, so it's a balance between spending that and needing to generate that level of revenue. But I think we're in the position we can do that. So the recommendation, and it's based on the budget and seminar that we had in October, is that we set a precept of 588,315. So that's up from 560,300 last year, asking an additional £28,000, 315 from the taxpayer, a band D of £107.07. So alongside just thinking about the budget and the precept, need to think about fees and charges. We haven't increased those this year, so that's the proposal, and I think that was well received by market traders in particular, but also you're approving the reserves policy, or considering the reserve policy. Final point from me, we're in a very lucky position, unlike many councils, in that we only ask the taxpayers for a quarter of our overall income. The rest is earned from good investments, good decisions by councillors, and good delivery by officers. So yeah, we can only influence this bit, especially as we're not increasing car parking during the lifetime of this council. So, Mr. Mayor, over to you.
Thank you. I just want to thank our responsible finance officer for the report. Very detailed and comprehensive. And can I just ask you if you have anything to add to what the clerk has told us?
No, but except that the figures that you've had have been updated, since then. So if you're looking at your to-date figures, they're just slightly different. But,
Okay, yeah, because it changes since
usually you'll spend
going to print.
very slightly.
Thank you. Okay, well, as it's been said, the council is still in a very secure financial position, and in my opinion, what we do, we do for very good value for money overall. But what do councillors think? I'll open it to the floor. Councillor Maguire.
Just want to again thank everybody for putting this all together, because it can't be an easy task with everything that we've been doing for the last 12 months. I just wanted to propose, really, obviously it's a difficult one because it's such a small council compared to what we would normally be sitting. Obviously, as the clerk has just said, what I would like to propose is that we would stick the precept at what it was originally, which was 560, 300. We've been talking over the last 12 months or more about reducing our reserves to 1.7 million. So what we would be gaining from the increase of council tax would be about 28,000. So I was wondering whether anybody would agree that we use some of that money to offset what we would be pulling in. The reason I have this concern is obviously at the moment we've got Shropshire Council looking at putting council tax up. We've got the Police Crime Commissioner looking to put their bit on top. So although it's only £4 per year extra that we're asking for, on top of everything else that looks to be coming in, let's not forget about what the government are trying to do, it's going to cost the taxpayer even more money. So obviously, as we all agree in this room, it's probably better off that it's in their pocket than it is in our pocket, if we can afford to do this. That's my proposal. I don't know if anyone else agrees on that. That's just what I'd like to put forward to the room.
Okay, thank you, councillor. So it's been moved that the precept request is not increased for the next financial year. Is there a seconder in the room? Not at this stage. Okay. My own view on that is that it is always tempting, and it's always a welcome gesture. But in terms of ensuring the financial security of the council in the future, it's all very well when there is a buffer or money in the bank, but then if you consistently fail to raise the precept, then eventually when you do need that extra income, then it has to go up by more in one go, whereas smaller increases year on year can avoid that happening. But that's my opinion. But I'll allow you to come back. Sure.
The other aspect in my thought process was that Oswestry is about to have, in the next, I don't know how many units are built per year, maybe somebody can enlighten me on that, but we're in excess of 800 houses about to be built in Oswestry. So that would be an added income to the town council over the period of time. Pluck a number out the top of my head, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 houses a year built extra, that's still coming into the council's pocket. So we would actually be gaining money into the council from the next phase of houses to be built in Oswestry. So you wouldn't actually be losing, you'd still be gaining because of the new houses being built, but over a long term, obviously.
Yeah. As the base increases, then the revenue increases. But again, my opinion on that would be to, decide that as and when we know as those houses are built and do exist, preempting that I think could have risks attached to it. But sorry, I've got Councillor Coburn who's been waiting to come in. Sorry.
I don't intend to go too much into it, given that no one seconded it, but I do feel like we do need to say that the reason that Shropshire Council are in this issue, the situation that they're in, is because they didn't increase taxes when they were able to, and then ended up in a financial hole. I think while the tax that we take from the people in Oswestry is a very small percentage of what they pay, we have to focus on our own finances and making sure that they're sustainable. With the national insurance increase, that I know a lot of small businesses and a lot of other councils are really struggling to cope with that. We're in a position where we can cover it with this precept increase, and I think we should. And we discussed the precept in some detail at the budget seminar. I don't think anything has changed to make it less important that we raise it and keep our finances sustainable.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Owen.
Thank you. I also want to bring up the point on we can't make a budget based on potential housing being built over a period of time that we don't know when it will be. We're making the budget for now, for the next year, and there could be 1,000 houses built, there could be one, and if you base your entire financial sort of outlook on the potential, that's where you start to have holes that open up after a year where you go, oh, we thought we'd get this and we haven't, and then you're going to have to fill that gap next year as well. As it's not been seconded, it's a matter of my point to the whole budget. I'm frankly slightly disappointed that we haven't come into this with a more ambitious plan to take on services from Shropshire that we could have brought into this budget. It's a matter of we're going forward knowing that some non-statutory services are likely to be cut. There's a consultation going on at the moment, and it would have been nice to have a longer talk to be able to see what could be taken on. I know Shrewsbury's doing a consultation on their asking the residents, what would you want to see the town council take on rather than lose? And how much would you be willing to pay for that? We could have done that 6 months ago and we haven't. And I'm not going to change that now. And so I just wanted to issue my disappointment. But overall, we can't change that now. It would be irresponsible to just try and force through anything in a budget meeting. So I just want to say that going forwards, we might want to look into going into the next year how we can budget for potentially needing to take on those services.
Yeah, point taken. But hopefully, moving forward, Shropshire Council will continue to be open to those discussions. So I'm sure the door isn't closed on making proposals of that nature. Councillor Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I think that we do this every time when elections come around, don't we? If we, it's election time, let's propose that we don't do a precept increase, and it's something that we've all maintained is an irresponsible decision. For the small part that we have, one of the things that I've always prided myself as a town councillor as being part of this council is that the small amount of the precept that we do take as a council has always been Oswestry money that's spent in Oswestry. It's always been something that's always worked, very positively. And I think, for all of our discussions over the years and disagreements, I think, a lot of that money has gone to very, very good use in Oswestry. And I think you can see it. So to put ourselves in a position where we're saying we don't want to take more Oswestry money for Oswestry is never something I'd suggest that we, never a route that we go down. But the other, regarding the additional houses, that, we might have an extra, argument's sake, 100 houses with, potentially an extra 200-300 residents in there or something. Yeah, that is additional income, but that's also additional wear and tear on all of our services and all of our, again, this happens all the time, doesn't it, where we have extra houses built but no infrastructure for it. These are all extra cars that are going to be driving through our car parks, putting wear and tear on everything. This is all going to take extra money to repair. If the population gets higher and higher, then so does the cost to run it. To simply just say, oh, we're not going to raise our precept because it looks good on a flyer, it's just not a good way to govern. It's something that I've always thought it's not a nice thing to have to do, but I think as a responsible council, we've got to keep at least in line with inflation as we always have. So yeah, it's just not going to, I don't think the budget's ever going to go a different way, is it?
No. And yes, who knows what will happen to inflation. We have to consider the risks that if inflation was to spike again, then our budgets would be affected. But Councillor Upton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We also have to take into consideration that that we are living in uncertain times. We've had a load of things that have happened over the past few years that we weren't expecting to happen, and given that we are, whether we're supposed to be talking about the election, we could be going into a new term next year, where uncertain events happen, and the fact that if we haven't budgeted for it and put all financial things in place, we could be jeopardising the economic safety of the council in the long run. So everyone else, everywhere else is reviewing their finances based on the cost of living. We have to do the same.
Thank you. Well, if no one else is going to, then I will propose from the chair that we accept the budget proposal as indicated in the report, at asking for a 5% increase on last year's figure, last year's precept. Is there a seconder for that? Thank you, Councillor Moore. Would anyone else wish to speak on the budget? Yes, sorry, Councillor Owen. Are we voting on the whole item of the budget, or just well, that was on the precept increase, not the second part is the general fund reserves policy. Is that correct?
Yeah, they all come hand in hand. You know, so improving the budget, improving the precept, and you know, just for clarity, because the council tax base has increased, it's a 4.0% increase on a band D. But we're asking for 5% more than we did last year.
Yeah,
so
because there are more properties, the base is larger, so a 5% increase on our precept request translates to a 4%, just over 4% increase to householders.
But if there are any observations on the budget, so you are approving the budget,
Okay. But if you'd like to speak further, then that's fine. If there's something that hasn't been covered, I won't move to the vote if you're still.
I just need to check we weren't going to don't vote on the budget straight out, like the whole thing afterwards.
Oh right, no, it is on the budget. Yeah, on this item. Yeah, I'm proposing that we accept the budget as it is in the report.
including the fees and charges.
Yes.
And then including the reserves policy, which just ties up.
Yeah. Thank you. Sorry if I wasn't clear. Okay. I'll move to the vote then if there's no one else. All in favour? Thank you. Any against? And any abstentions? 2 abstentions to record. Thank you.
Just in terms of, didn't want to influence the discussion, but the debate about Shropshire Council services, there are parishes who are precepting for taking on Shropshire Council with no indication of what they're taking on or how to budget, and so they're asking the taxpayer to fund something that they don't know the cost of. And I think we haven't taken that view, and the town council has spoken to Shropshire Council, but as it stands, there's been no proposal come forward, and so that's why we're in this position. So it's just to clarify, it's not that we're failing to come up with proposals. I think I'd argue that we're not being asked clearly enough and given the information for you to enable you to make a decision.
I was also, it's a matter of if we're trying to show willing, and if we could have got to an agreement with Shropshire, we could have budgeted at this point, and that's what I was disappointed about in general.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. Okay, so are we ready to move on to item 7? Payment of election fees by parish councils following 2025 elections. To note as Appendix B, the item from the bi-monthly SALC Joint Working Group. Sorry.
Yeah, just a note.
Yeah, just a note.
Just to note that the charges will be in the region of £2.30 per elector in the area, and I think we've got about 13,000 electors.
That's population.
13,000 electors, so it's a considerable fee for elections, and subsequent by-elections are expensive as well. So just so you're aware of what it costs.
Thank you, Councillor Upton.
Move we note.
Thank you. I'll second. All in favour? Thank you very much. Okay. Item 8 is the Community Ownership Fund. Unfortunately, the Community Ownership Fund is now closed for applications. There will be no further application windows on the current Community Ownership Fund programme.
So this is disappointing because we had put together, and we were expecting the news, but we put together a very detailed application to fund the new roof or replacement roof on the centre, making the argument to government that if we don't take over this building and fund this, then the building will close. So, you know, I just want to demonstrate that spending our money was the last resort. But it now seems that, you know, it's inevitable. There's no external funding to cover the cost of that, and this fund is now gone.
Well, yeah, that is quite a blow then, really, isn't it? But there's not a lot we can do about it.
Not unexpected either, to be fair.
But if there's no comments or questions from members, I'll just move we note. Thank you. All in favour? Thank you. The draft notes of the meeting of the Future Oswestry Group held on the 10th of October 2024, Appendix D. Any questions or comments? Thank you. Seconded. All in favour? Thank you. Item 10, 20 miles per hour restriction in Oswestry. We asked the clerk to write to the Highways portfolio holder about introducing 20 mile per hour speed restrictions in the areas of town where people live or shop. So to note the response, just basically, it's not looking likely at the moment, but I think it's always worth reminding principal authorities and highway authorities of, what local people have requested, and as we're the closest level of government to those people. Any comments, questions, Councillor Owen?
I just want to say it's a matter of, this is something that's been going on for 10 years, like 20 miles an hour has been recognised as what's needed in residential areas, and the fact that we're still having to just ask for it and be told that there's not staff. There were 3 times as much staff 10 years ago, so if it couldn't happen then, it's still not happening now. It's a matter of something needs to change so they can actually implement these policies before people's lives are lost or children are injured. Like, at the end of the day, this isn't just money, it's making sure that residents are safe. And it's just disappointing that we did write to a portfolio holder and just get a response from the officer rather than being able to talk to the portfolio holder themselves.
Yeah, that's a good point to pick up, actually. Councillor Moore.
Councillor Owen's already made the point.
Yeah, I'd echo that. I mean, and introducing small zones has enormous costs because you're having to do a consultation for each one and the signage for each one, and then implement and deal with each one. Whereas if they looked at a wider area, then I think economies of scale would kick in and there would be consistency. It wouldn't be as confusing for people, and yeah, there are so many arguments in favour, environmental and safety. Yes, but there we go. We've made the effort again, and hopefully a future council may have more success than we have on the issue. So if I could move that we note that reply. Thank you. All in favour?
Do you want to note with disappointment?
Note with disappointment. Yes. All in favour of noting with disappointment. I like that. Any against? Any abstentions? 1 abstention. Thank you. Item 11 then, extension to free bus travel in Oswestry. So an important report here, but we're asked to consider giving the clerk delegated powers to conclude an agreement with the operator to begin from the first week of January. So retrospectively, because the service has already come into effect. Councillor Owen.
I'd just like to move that we move this section to the end and into private session, just so we can discuss contractual. If we want to give the clerk delegated powers to pay from a certain point or not pay, we should come from that position. It's in the interest of the council not to reveal that position before going into negotiations.
Okay, interesting. First of all, is there a seconder to that proposal? Councillor Upton, thank you. Can I seek the opinion of
Yeah, you can change the order of the agenda as you see fit. Seconded and proposed. So you're moving it to the end, and then you'll have to take a decision of whether to exclude the public and press, and then there'll be a decision for you.
Okay, Councillor Coburn.
I don't have an issue with the delegated powers thing being moved to public session, to private session, but I think I'd quite like for a discussion as to whether we are going to increase or maintain the free bus travel thing to be a public issue. I think it is a public issue. How we go about it, I can concede, could easily be in private session.
If that's the will of the council, then we can make that work procedurally to satisfy what you want to do. Okay. But
Okay.
So if you just need to agree to move it to the end of the agenda.
Yes, of course.
Like, if we move it to the end, we can still have the discussion before then excluding the press. It's just,
Yeah.
rather than cancelling all the audio recording stuff now, it's easier to move it to the end.
Okay, so quite simply, the proposal is at the moment to move item 11 to the end of the agenda. All in favour? Yep, happy with that. Any against? Any abstentions? One abstention, thank you. Okay, so item 11 deferred to the end of the meeting. Item 12 then, traffic regulations and residents parking in Oswestry. The town clerk has, again, he's been busy with his pen, writing to the Infrastructure Place Directorate on behalf of the Town Council with 3 specific issues raised at Council in November 24, to request a review of the traffic order involving a loading bay on Beatrice Street, to request that Phase 4 of the Shropshire Council parking strategy framework relating to Oswestry on residents' parking policy be expedited, and to request that a no waiting at any time restriction on Ambleside Road, both sides from its junction with Middleton Road, for a distance of 10 metres in a northerly direction are made. Councillor now asked to note the response received in Appendix F, but I'll bring in Councillor Owen.
My hand's going to get tired at the end of this. This was due to a motion that I brought forward, so I just wanted to go over each point. That I accept that we're going to review this in 12 months, so there's not much to say on the first point. The second one, I think, is frankly quite a awful response, basically saying that they never really promised to do Oswestry. It was only mentioned in a footnote at the bottom of a report, and frankly that's just insulting to Oswestry. That I can't really say anything more on a recording. So it's a matter of, I feel like we still need to have this review of parking in Oswestry. It's a problem that does come up for anybody you speak to on virtually the entire town, and the fact that we're just being ignored when asking directly to the relevant people is ridiculous. And bringing in staffing levels to parking services, again, that's an internal Shropshire Council decision to do that. Using that then as an excuse of why they can't do their own job is frankly insulting. So I just wanted to make that point. And then I'm glad that they're at least not seeing an issue with the Ambleside Road point. The 10 metres I proposed from the actual junction, it's a very weird, wide junction, and I wasn't quite sure where you mark the 10 metres from. And therefore it was 10 metres from the, like, just before you go into Middleton Road in a straight direction, which actually is probably about 2 metres around from the corner. It's a really wide internal like circular angle, so even though it seems like 10 metres is a ridiculous length, it really isn't that much compared to having cars parked still on a corner. So I just wanted to flag up the fact that it is a bit much if you don't visit the site, which they've said that they will, but I wanted to also just help them along with that one.
Okay, thank you. I've got Councillor Upton and then Councillor Maguire.
Just regarding the first point, will the 12 months' time be from the date that the order was passed into law, or will it be 12 months' time from the council meeting of the 11th of November, or will it be 12 months' time from this meeting tonight?
Good questions. I'm not sure I can clarify that for you at the moment.
I take it as a sort of around about 12 months, and I would suggest it's from the date of the response as opposed to the date of the meeting. But you know, that's how I would view it, as opposed to it's definitely going to happen in 12 months' time.
Thank you. Councillor Maguire then.
I just want to echo my disappointment as well. Obviously, myself and Councillor Kerr both highlighted one or two of these issues on here. Obviously, the two issues I'm concerned with is the fact that in 12 months' time, those businesses that have asked me to look, and Duncan to look into the loading bay, by the time 12 months comes around, those businesses could be out of business and have suffered the consequences of this delay. And on the second part, obviously, of the residents parking, obviously, well, I've been knocking doors for the last few months, and the amount of people that have asked for residents parking in different streets on just the outskirts of Oswestry Town Centre is phenomenal, because they're all tired of, you cannot guarantee your parking space, even with residents parking, but they're all tired of coming home from work and finding cars parked down the street to the point that they've got nowhere to park whatsoever, because people are choosing to park on side streets instead of the car parks. You know, it's frustrating, and the frustration was really coming out strong from residents, and they've asked. Not all residents were aware that we were trying to do this, but they were asking for residents parking. And I said, you know, obviously, if we did ever get residents parking, there's a fee. They wasn't bothered. They just want to know they can come home from work and be able to park down the streets. You know, it's frustrating.
Yeah.
It is really frustrating. It's frustrating for us that we're being asked to represent the residents and do this for them. And it's frustrating for the residents because they're not getting what they're asking us to do. Where do we go from here? 12 months is a long time. Like I said, businesses will go bust because people can't park outside the business to do a quick in and out, and residents aren't getting what they're asking for.
Yeah, it's been something that's been an issue since I became a councillor, and since becoming while being on Shropshire Council, you know, something I've pushed for and was repeatedly promised that it was just around the corner by several officers, and 2 summers ago it was you know, this summer we're going to start, but nothing has ever come of any of it, and there may be perfectly valid reasons, but that doesn't do anything for the people who are experiencing the issue at the sharp end. So I share everyone's frustration and disappointment, but Aaron, are you?
Yeah, just wondering, worth making a suggestion for members to consider. Can't really deal with traffic reg stuff because that is, you know, tied up in legalese and what have you. But I do wonder, you know, the resident parking scheme has been raised with me several times. It may not be the answer, but perhaps we could, as a response to the response, request a meeting with Highways to see what alternative there is, including delegating to the town council for residential parking, and at least then we've got an answer one way or another on that issue as well.
I'd happily propose that.
Yeah, I'm sure Councillor Owen had his hand up already, but
So I'm going to propose something first. So it was a matter of, before going into that, it was a matter of, could we propose that the town council does approach Shropshire to hold a consultation with which streets want this. It's a matter of we can work in, like, liaise with Shropshire Council rather than just relying on Shropshire Council to do it themselves. Say, we'll hold this consultation and we'll provide the results openly to you, and it saves the officer time for the Shropshire Council if they're saying that that's the issue. Then,
but only if
yeah,
it would be something that we could take
Yeah.
on in the, you know, ultimately.
yeah,
Yeah.
I would.
But
So they'd have to be committed to do that. There'd have to be commitment to follow the process through. Otherwise, you're left going, we've asked the consultation, we've got the answers, and everybody's looking at you saying, what are you going to do? And we basically can't because you haven't got the legal powers. So possibly should we you know, absolutely, but
If we listen to what
Yeah.
Councillor Maguire wants to propose.
I just wanted to propose exactly what the clerk has said, word for word. I can't give you it, but I think we should be calling the portfolio holder in, and yes, Oswestry Town Council look to take this on ourselves rather than through Shropshire Council. So, how you want to word that? I think the clerk put it better than what I just did. So, yeah.
The clerk's in agreement.
Yeah, I'm
But yeah, sorry, Aaron, go on.
So I wonder if it's as a response. Thank you very much for your response. Getting back to me, we're very disappointed to note the line regarding resident parking is a key issue for us in Oswestry, a long-standing key issue for us in Oswestry. I'd invite you to I think it's an officer meeting in the first instance with Shropshire Council to understand the possibilities of delegation and see where we go from there. This may include the Town Council undertaking the consultation on behalf of Shropshire Council, but that'll be one issue to explore.
Okay, so that has been proposed and seconded. Councillor Upton?
Forgive me, I did not interpret a seconder, so I was about to second it myself.
Ah, lovely. Okay, that's it then. We can tick that box. And would anyone else like to speak? No, I'll move to the vote then. All in favour? Thank you. Yes. Great way forward, I think. That was, sorry, yes. Sorry, Councillor Moore.
It's not relevant to the vote, but I just thought just to play devil's advocate a little bit with some of this. I know we do find ourselves getting frustrated sometimes with officers at Shropshire Council and the apparent sort of inaction. But I had a couple of meetings this week, which has really led me into sort of understanding just how dire some of the situations are for these officers at Shropshire Council. For example, we're looking at the flooding issues, especially in Gabowin, and there is one full-time staff member for flooding in the entire county. One person, that's it. And there are 2 part-time staff who come in, you know, as and when, but one person for the entirety of it. And then you look at the same thing with, you know, dealing with fly tipping, which is something I'm looking at Crestwood Court at the moment. Again, there's a skeleton crew at best. You know, the mismanagement, it comes from above the officers. It's not fair to, you know, I don't want us to be too mean to them, because I do feel like they work very hard, don't they? But yeah,
It's a good point. Yeah, I mean, we're not laying the blame at individual officers' doors at all. The vast majority of whom, you know, do their jobs well and are dedicated. As we have our own set of very hard-working, dedicated officers, it's very rarely down to them. But okay. Let's move on. Item 13, Oswestry Safer Neighbourhood Team newsletter. Just to note, we've had a really good newsletter from the SNT. Just to note, but any comments or? Thank you. All in favour? Brill. Item 14, consultation titled Strengthening the Standards and Conduct Framework for Local Authorities in England. So we're being asked to consider commenting on the government consultation here. So they're talking about the introduction of a mandatory minimum code of conduct for local authorities, requirement that all principal authorities convene formal standards committees to make decisions on code of conduct breaches and publish those outcomes. Introduction of the power for all local authorities, including combined authorities, to suspend councillors or mayors found in serious breach of the Code of Conduct, and as appropriate, suspension for the most serious and complex cases in an interim that may involve police investigation, so before an actual outcome has been reached. A new category of disqualification for gross misconduct, and those subject to sanction of suspension more than once in a 5-year period, and a role for a national body to deal with appeals, because at the moment all we can do is complain to the monitoring officer, and I've not known a complaint to go any further than that in my time as councillor. So, Councillor Upton.
Having read a copy of the document by the government, am I right in understanding that the convention of a formal standards committee would be replacing the monitoring officer, full stop?
If you've read it, yeah.
You probably know.
Or perhaps my comment would be more, would you be in agreement that I am correct?
I would imagine that yes, this is to replace the current protocols and procedures. So, Councillor Owen, are you?
I was just going to propose that we do just clarify that point and come back in as a, maybe just directly through email to councillors, just clarifying whether this does replace the monitoring officer. Just for clarification's point, because it's been raised by Councillor Upton.
Is this a consultation where we can reply as individuals as well as council?
Yeah,
Okay, so I would encourage members to take part in this consultation and provide their views individually. As in terms of commenting as a council, there is now a question as to whether the monitoring officer would or would not be still responsible in any way, or would this be replacing that person completely? So, are you proposing that we don't make a formal response without clarification on that point?
I feel like because it has been raised and none of us do know the answer, it's a matter of we shouldn't be making responses or commenting on things if we don't have the answers first.
Do we have a closing date for the consultation?
I think it's a valid question to say that the role of the monitoring officer and the committee, standards committee, because I have to say the standards committee would have a heck of a lot of work if they took on everything that the monitoring officer does. I can't see that. That is clarified in the final document. That might be a suitable response. I'm happy to ask the question, but I don't know where I'd get an answer from. But I'm happy to ask the question and circulate that response to councillors.
Thank you. And Councillor Moore.
The consultation period ends 11:59 on the 26th of February.
26th of February. Okay, so can we just put this on next month's agenda, just so that if any councillor wishes to propose a formal wording for a response from OTC?
Yeah.
That okay?
Yeah, as long as that's what you want to do, that's great.
I'll propose that then, and that's seconded. So all in favour? Thank you very much. And we will seek clarification in the meantime, or adopt or include that as in our response. So next is item 15. There's a planning application to remove the living wall at Morrison's on Shrewsbury Road, which OTC has previously objected to, and we've been invited to withdraw our objection, as due to the size of the area to be altered, it would be exempt from biodiversity net gain, which was the grounds on which we objected. So planning officers consider that the scheme would be acceptable and likely be put forward for approval. So the resolution is there. What is the opinion of councillors? Councillor Coburn.
I think we should not withdraw our objection, just because it's not part of the biodiversity net gain requirements does not mean that we should not be trying to increase or at least maintain biodiversity in our community. And I think our initial objection is entirely reasonable and correct, and we should persist with it.
Thank you. Councillor Owen?
I completely agree with Councillor Coburn. It's a matter of, at the end of the day, if we've made an objection, it should go to planning committee to listen to our objection and voice it and have it in that forum. That's what the planning committee is there for. If they want to go through officers simply and avoid the committee, that's not democratic, and we shouldn't be withdrawing our, as a council, we've made that point from the public to say we don't want to be losing net diversity. just because a planning officer's got the rule book in front of him doesn't mean that our objection shouldn't be heard in that planning committee forum.
Yeah, I think those are good points. The council would still wish that the members of that committee see the objection that was made, and it's for them to determine the planning application on its merits, but an objection is still valid as an opinion. So unless anyone else wishes to speak, we've got a proposer and a seconder there. All in favour of maintaining the objection? Thank you. I'm confused. I've never seen this come through before, that inviting a party to withdraw an objection. It just, objections are there to be. It's up to the chair of the committee and officers to decide what goes to committee. I don't think an objection like this would they could still, it could still be decided not to put it to the committee, even if there is an objection from the town council, as far as I'm aware. But
And quite simply, the easiest response would be for the applicant to say, we'll plant 50 trees instead. You know, and that's a straightforward response. We'll donate 50 trees to the town council, but there's been no discussion.
or replace the trees that have died since they were planted as part of the. Yes. Right. Okay. Sorry. It is a strange one. Yeah. Item 16. Reports from the town clerk on Oswestry Town Council projects. First of all.
So you have the regular updates from me. I do want to go into a couple of issues in a little bit of detail as we've got some time. But the first one being the UK SBF Market Hall improvements. I don't know if you've noticed coming up the street today that the clock is there. Scaffolding should be down. Well, it should have been down today, to be fair. Scaffolding will be down. The clock is modern. It looks fresh, but also programmable. Gives you a few options with that. So I'm really pleased with that. There is a difficulty in highlighting with this project because it is time bound and it's externally funded to spend the money. And the internal floor and the relaying of that internal floor across the whole of the ground floor is going to be difficult. And so balancing the level of disruption between the benefits that it will bring is where we're at, really. We will do the ramp. So the ramp is a slip, have to be careful, is a little bit of a slip hazard. We will get that done, but it's whether or not we do the communal areas downstairs now or wait until next Christmas and do it when the market's closed fully. So it gives the traders more, it gives us more time to do the work, and it gives the traders less disruption for them. But we are just exploring those options at the moment because we've been having slightly mixed opinion in terms of whether it's walkable on 4 days or 2 days or 3 days. So from various parties, so we are just balancing those off. But I do need to highlight that if we do the ground floor, that we will need to close the market for a day, and traders are generally happy with that. But in doing so, we'd probably have to offer them free rent for that week, if that was appropriate. And I'd probably need delegated powers to offer that. I'm not sure where that sits. I wouldn't want to offer a week's free rent without speaking to you. If we could avoid it, I would. But obviously that might be the case. Do you want to take questions on that before I go into other stuff?
Yeah, probably a good idea. I've got Councillor Moore.
Thank you. So have we've spoken with the Markets Liaison Officer, maybe, and Markets Liaison, I don't know who the chair is now. Jim's steps back. Okay. So yeah, invite Kevin over to a council meeting maybe to discuss this would be a sense, so he can represent the traders. That is the point of having that position, isn't it? my concern of doing it during the winter months, although I see the logic in it, is that the floor will definitely take a lot longer to. Is it going to be a floating floor, or is it going to be? If it's going to be like painted or anything like it was before, we're talking massive additional levels of moisture and things like that in the air at that time of year. It will potentially take weeks to dry in such a large space like that, and having to put the heating on to compensate for that could be incredibly expensive. So we might be better off just offering the free week's rent to support the traders during this much needed upgrade is probably a more sensible financial decision for the council, and I think probably gets it done sooner, and then the traders can be looking forward to a Christmas in the hall where it's looking at its best. So I would propose that we do give the clerk the delegated powers to offer the 3 weeks rent, that we invite Kevin in to discuss the traders' opinions and look at moving ahead with the works at the earliest convenience, I guess.
Just quickly respond. We are liaising very carefully with the traders. We have done all the way through here. Through this process, been really positive. Timescales won't allow it to come to council. We're going to have to make a decision in the next couple of weeks based on the information that we get. We'll liaise with Kevin. I'm pleased if council support that level of delegation. We are using the advice of the flooring manufacturers and suppliers. They're confident, given what they're using. I can't describe what it is, but they're confident that it will dry in time. But yeah, I think giving ourselves plenty of time to do it is valid as well. I just need to highlight it because it might be one of those issues that comes and goes. Might lead to some criticism, but we'll do our utmost to manage it in the best possible way.
Thank you. So yes, I've got Councillor Maguire.
Just to say it's great to see that we're taking into consideration our market traders. But I've got a question. Obviously, you just mentioned we do half the floor at one point, half the floor at another point. Is there any additional space that we have where market traders could still, as you said, get the free rent for the inconvenience of the situation? But have we got anywhere where they could go, like for instance, the Edinburgh Wall Mill as one of our properties where they could go in for that short period of time? Because they're going to have to move their produce anyway. Just as a way of compensation, as Councillor Moore said, but also as a way of them still being able to make a trade.
I was going to suggest that they're all offered an outdoor stall as well, if they feel they could make use of it.
Yeah, we have really strong. We've got a good working relationship. We've consulted them all the way through on this. So I'm generally comfortable where we're at with the engagement with the traders. We can offer them an outdoor space. I was going to mention this at the end of the meeting, but I may as well do now. There's been a long-standing frustration about the Cross-Market building. The lease has been, the Mayor has just finalised the lease this evening. So the news in terms of the new tenants will be out soon. We just need the Deputy Mayor to sign it. And so, that building isn't an option. Yeah.
Okay, so Councillor Moore, with the addition of offering the external pitches, are you happy to accept that as part of your proposal?
Yes.
Delegated powers for the closure of the indoor market with liaison with the market traders and the offering of an alternative outdoor.
Yeah, I think as long as the offering of the outdoor is in addition to the free rent, then it offers the support, doesn't it? So I think across the board, I think that I think that's a really good compromise, isn't it?
Lovely. So,
but just be mindful. Might take the operational decision that we don't think it's doable. Okay, so just be mindful of that. But I'm really grateful for your guidance on this. But
we all want the smoothest and best outcome for the traders and the market and the users of the market, don't we? So all in favour? Thank you. Unanimous. Sorry.
I don't know if did we skip over a second there? Well, I know I proposed.
Well,
it,
I
don't know.
kind of
okay, as long as
seconded
that's fine.
with my amendment. Sorry, I was.
No, that's fine.
what's the word? Yes.
It's not that.
I amalgamated process there slightly. I sort of collapsed everything together there a little bit. Apologies, but that's it. Excellent.
Oh, you lot on these fancy big words.
Have you got a thesaurus over there, Sandra, for us? So we're still on the projects report, aren't we? I think that was just...
So the next update is on the centre and the roof in particular. You'd be pleased to note that we're very close to signing the lease with TNS FC Foundation on this. They have been filling the building, so there is a lot of interest and there's some really exciting projects being delivered there. They're opening up outreach work, which is exactly what you wanted, and it's, you know, feels like a positive way forward. They are willing to agree to the lease without the roof being completed. So, and I think for us that's a massive bonus. However, the roof being uncompleted, and I'll come on to the roof, means that there's one room completely unusable because it's a big room. I don't know if you recall going there. There's buckets in the corner. It's a flat roof and there's water literally pouring through the ceiling, so it's unusable. And I think it'd be unfair, really, for us to walk away in that situation. It's not in the spirit in which we're going. And it'd be, to be fair, it'd be easy to TNS to say we're not going to take on the lease until you do that, until you do the work. So I think what I would like is, again, delegated powers, possibly in liaison with the mayor or on my own, to cover some of the operational costs until the work on that roof is complete. You budgeted for it, and I think it's a reasonable thing to do. The rooms there that can't be hired out, so it actually affects the financial sustainability of that. I just need to understand what that might be. It might be we'll cover the cost of the CCTV for 12 months, to a sum. But I'm only talking a minor sum for a minor period of time. I can't tell you what that is, and I haven't had the discussion with TNS yet. But I think in trying to find a quick way forward on this to get more young people in the building and not to delay. And I'll tell you about the work on the roof next. I think that would be a sensible way forward. Okay, so just park that one for a second, and then with the roof, we are taking this very. I know it may seem very slow, but having we struggled to get drawings for the building, so we've had to have those drawn up, new drawings drawn up. We've had those, we've had those done now, and so now we're just considering which parts of the roof need fixing and how much is it going to cost us, because that some of the quotes that we've had in are fairly scary. The cost of building materials is significant. I was quoted this week that the cost of plasterboard has gone up 16% since December. So we're dealing with those sorts of massive increases. So clearly my mind is on managing the money that you've made available alongside getting that building up and running. And that's why I'm suggesting this as a way forward. I think we have a way forward on the roof. We are going to have some thermal imaging done to make sure that we're only replacing what we need to. Be very careful on the specification and given ourselves an opportunity to bring tenders down as opposed to them stacking up. So going that way as opposed to that way, which I think is always better. A little bit uncertainty. We are progressing that, but there's some real positive news there for us.
Good. Yes, sounds like a complex project, but I'm sure it'll. Councillor Moore, over to you.
Yeah, it's a very, very long an ongoing piece of work, isn't it? Getting the building up. It's something that we have been trying to do for a long time, and the clerk raised the point that I was going to raise, that we really want to start getting those doors open to get young people in that building. We've had a lot of delays, some of them out of our hands, some by unnecessary moves that have been made in here, waiting to write letters and things like that. I think that could have been avoided, and I spoke out as such at the time for that very reason. That the cost of building materials has just been skyrocketing since, since COVID especially. It just hasn't slowed down. It's only going to get worse. So I think that the clerk's suggestion of having these delegated powers so we can start getting on with this work again is going to be financially beneficial to the council. So we really shouldn't be waiting any longer. This building needed to be up and running yesterday, didn't it? And so the sooner we can get to that point, the better. We do need to start getting young people back inside that building. So I would propose that we take the clerk's suggestion of allowing these delegated powers to start working on some of the operational bits within, whilst the repairs to the roof are investigated. I'd actually go one further, as I believe that I know that the numbers are scary as far as the roof, but I don't believe that there's a councillor on this council who thinks that we should take that building on and leave it to rot. We're going to have to fix that roof regardless of what the cost of that roof is. We know we're going to have to take it on, and that's something I think we accepted during our many long conversations around this table about doing it. So I think that the delegated powers to really be cracking on with this stuff should extend to the roof as well, because I feel like the council has made this decision so many times over that bringing it back is really just going to slow things down. So I also propose that we allow the clerk the delegated powers to get on with the full roof repairs without having to bring it back to council for approval.
Yeah, I take that. I think I do need to get that full amount signed off, though. So I will have to get you to sign off the tender. Even as just part of the process, I haven't got authority to sign off £400,000, so I'll bring it back. But I will get it up to the point where you're signing it off. Okay.
Sorry, just to clarify, I didn't mean to obviously skip over the tender process.
No, I know you didn't.
Absolutely go through, but you know what you're doing with that tender process, and bring these back to us, because we do trust you to get this work done. So.
Everything bar the bits that we have to do.
Obviously, other than our legal obligations to make sure that we're, but yes, if we can add that in, then that would be my proposal.
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
If there's a second.
Yes, happy to second all that. I think we're all in, aren't we? We're definitely committed now that we've got the building. It just needs to happen before the costs double in the next 12 months or something. I've got Councillor Coburn, then Councillor Maguire.
I was just going to say.
Oh, okay, Councillor Maguire.
Just going to echo what everyone said. Now we've got the building. We've always had a concern of the costs, and a lot. As Councillor Moore said, building supplies have gone up. We've said before, you can't tell what the future's going to be. Is it going to? Nothing ever comes down. Could it go up more? And obviously, it's the old adage, isn't it? The longer you leave something, the worse it's going to get. So it could end up costing us more money later on.
Which is exactly what's happened with the building
Yeah.
all along, hasn't it? Problems not being addressed. So,
Okay.
did we vote? All in favour? That was unanimous, thank you. Any more projects?
Yeah, just a final one to note, just because I haven't given you an update on this one before. The Sports Direct alleyway, I have all the information from the bid, been going through it. I have made contact with Poundland. But not the right person in Poundland. So I am trying to find their estates team, because obviously they're the people who need to make a decision. So to be fair to Poundland's admin team, they were really responsive, but yet to have a response from them, and that's to chase up. But again, I think that's going to be a long-standing issue. But interestingly enough, if it is interesting, it was highlighted, that alleyway was highlighted today at the shopfront design consultation. Member of the public said, I walked down and I just didn't feel very comfortable or happy. So long way to go, but just wanted to give you a quick update. I haven't done a great deal on it.
Well, it's always good to have something in your back pocket for when there's nothing else to do, Aaron.
Yeah, I just say that's precisely why I did before. It's just that the residents have come to me with concerns, safety down there, otherwise I wouldn't have
Yeah, definitely, thank you. So that's covered off council projects. 16B is the post office. We have a verbal.
With regards to with regards to project 89, adult fitness equipment, Kyglass Park, agreement to replace exiting. Presumably that's agreement to replace existing equipment.
Yeah, that would have been
Oh, right.
Councillor Upton, thank you for that, would have been a town clerk trying to do two things at the same time.
That is
I'm
fine.
getting it completely wrong. So, thank you. I'll make sure I pick that up.
Okay. Thank you for that correction there. So 16B is post office. Verbal update from yourself.
Yeah, couple of good updates for you. I've had actually a dialogue with the post office this morning about the about Oswestry Post Office and the I don't want to say, avoid saying the rumours of its closing,
Cabin
because
Lane.
that's what I want to say. No, not about Cabin Lane. So about the Oswestry main branch. And they provided me with a good overview of the process, the reason why they're doing it, which is essentially that all the direct managed branches are losing a lot of money, at an average of about £190,000 each per year, and they're looking to close that gap. They have had lots of expressions of interest to run the branches on the franchise, but the outcome won't be reported until March. So they're now sifting through all those, and so there will be no news until March. There was no opportunity to talk specifics about Oswestry because they view that as commercially sensitive, so won't share property costs, staffing costs, or any of that information with us, or anybody else, to be fair, so it's not just us. But what was clear, that there isn't a pick and mix solution, so it's the franchise is all of it or none of it. There isn't, we'll look after the property if you look after the staff. I think the understanding is that the staffing costs are contributing significantly. So that's an update from the post office. So I've been really grateful that they've engaged with us, and I think I've expressed the council's view quite clearly to them. And there is an opportunity, depending on the outcome, because they haven't decided the outcome yet, to further engage with them. And one of the options, as the council instructed me to do, was to understand whether we could be the franchisee. So I had a conversation again yesterday with Helsham Town Council, who operate their franchise, and it was really interesting to understand the short-term and the long-term issues associated with that as a piece of work, and also the legal framework. And the legal framework's interested because they use the power of competency, but they've also had to set up a company alongside that to trade. So parish councils can't trade unless they do so through a company. So they've established Helsham Town Council Community Interest Company, which again is relatively easy to do with the right governance, and presents some interesting other opportunities as well further down the line. But again, this is a viable option for Oswestry, but it does have significantly financial implications. So Helsham Post Office costs them £60,000 a year to run. So that's the subsidy they offer, and that's a decision that they've made. So what I would say from an officer's perspective, no further actions now. Clearly, the big next news is the outcome of this process, and then for members to determine what we want to do next. Still got the Oswestry Post Office flashing up on the screen and promoting it. I don't know where the survey is up to, so the petition is up to in terms of numbers. It'd be good to get an update on that at some point. But yeah, it felt like a positive couple of days, to be fair. I will report to Councillor Bennett from Oswestry Area Committee about this, but obviously I needed to come to you first and let you know in the first instance.
Well, yeah, thanks, Aaron. Thanks for, I think it's a really good bit of public service that you're undertaking there. And I think, it deserves to be noted that, what we asked you to do, and you've been very effective at doing it. So thank you. Councillor Owen, and then Councillor Maguire, and then Councillor Moore.
Thank you. the first thing was just the report about, was it Helsham Town Council? Could at some point have a summary of that, of what they've done, just so we can learn ourselves. It's a matter of, it would be interesting to know the background around that, not just for the post office, if there's anything that does go in the future and they've got that legal framework there. It would just be interesting to have that in our arsenal, basically, to know that we could propose. The other thing is, I don't like bringing up rumour in town councils, but we will all have heard about the possibility of the convenience store on Cabin Lane closing, which does have the only other post office in Oswestry. It is a rumour, so we can't say that it is happening or not. But I think we just need to reiterate that we would be completely against losing that facility in that position. Like, it is a very prominent place. It's got parking outside. It's right next to a school that people nip into at the times that they need to nip into it. It's a matter of, I don't know what to propose. I want to open it up to the floor. It's a matter of, but getting, if we do have contact with the post office, just asking whether they can offer any reassurance that they know of another partner going in, or that it's been closed at all. And generally, if needed, it's a matter of, we should just promote that we can't lose a post office anywhere in Oswestry, because even if you keep the main one, the Eastern Oswestry is quite a distance from the town centre through walking. Like, there's two main ways to walk into the town centre, and when it's icy, both are very difficult to access just due to the situation. So elderly residents quite often go to the other post office. So I think we just need to openly say that we are against losing that facility to the post office, and try and sort of insist that they do look at other options rather than just closing. I know it's a franchise, they have nothing, they can't say anything about it, but it's a matter of be open to anybody that does approach them in that position.
I think as has been said, there's reasons to keep hope that there are ways of keeping the post office, but it shows that any argument saying, well, there's an alternative post office serving Oswestry, is not necessarily the case, and obviously there are risks when a smaller sub post office is located within another business that could close independently of the post office and take that with it. But Councillor Maguire, and then Councillor Moore.
Just to say, there's still lots of unanswered questions too. You know, we still don't know really the future of it. We know the possibilities, and it's interesting to know that perhaps it's something that we could look at later on down the line. And as Councillor Owen has said, there is a rumour. I've emailed the co-op to get a response to see what is actually going on. Obviously, there are different rumours flying around, so we can't make any assumptions here. I'm still waiting for that email. I've just checked now. There was no email come back today, but I am assured that they are going to get back to me on it. It is disappointing because, as we all said, it is if there is a gap of where the post office closes to where a new tender takes it over, however you want to word it, then, and we lose Cabin Lane one, then where's people going? The only local one for post office is up Trevonham. Now, you know, most post office in town. I mean, I'll give you an example. I stood outside the post office for 2 hours on a Saturday morning along with Duncan, and in 2 hours, 100 people walked in that post office. So we can't tell me that it's not busy, because apparently from talking when we had the meeting, the Monday is even busier. So in 2 hours, 100 people walked into that post office. So it's extremely well used. So I'd be very surprised if anyone can come back and say that it's not used sufficiently or often enough, or, you know, doesn't warrant keeping it open, because in just 2 hours, 100 people is a lot of people. And as I'm sure from both sides of the table, we are getting so much support for keeping it open from both sides of the table, because residents want it, need it, and use it. So we need to keep this dialogue going and keep on the pressure, and let's hope that someone takes over, perhaps Cabin Lane, if it does close, and we still keep a secondary one, because it's very concerning.
100%, 100%. Yes, Councillor Moore.
All of my points, other than one, have been covered already. So just there is the other alternative we've got. You mentioned Trefornan, but there's one at the orthopaedic.
Oh, I didn't do that.
Yeah, there's a post office at the orthopaedic there. It's very, very small. But yeah.
Yes, good. Yes, thanks for that. Yeah, it's, useful information. No.
So what has been useful in the discussion, so this is for noting, Mr Mayor, is that the service standard is that from the government is that, I've written it down, is that 90% of the population must be within 1 mile of a post office. So that's the service standard, so that they'll be working to. So, you know, if you think about across town, one might not meet that criteria, possibly. So I think what the commitment is, they'll have to consider all, so as part of the process, consider all the provision in an area and all the issues to come up with a solution. And I think it's just waiting for what that solution would be. They're very aware of the local support and view on it. I didn't get the view that they want to close it. Got the view is that they just need to manage costs. You know, and £190,000 a year loss in any business is significant, and then it becomes a decision of whether you subsidise it or not.
Thank you. Councillor Coburn.
Yeah, I was just interested that obviously the Cabin Lane issue, whether it's closing or not, illustrates the difficulty of a private franchise looking after an important service. And obviously we've investigated the Hailsham example, and I agree a report will be helpful. But you noting that they're subsidising it, if they're subsidising it to 60 grand a year, and the average post office is losing 190 grand a year, it suggests that it can be done, and possibly if it's a community owned through the council, that might encourage more support, more usage than if it's just in a shop somewhere.
Yeah, and there might be uses of the building that we could, you know, that could offset some of the costs, but, you know, that's way down the line. Councillor Maguire, before I come to you, we are spending a significant amount of time on something which is a verbal update for noting, so I'm just conscious of the time. Is that okay?
Yeah, no, it's fine.
If we're just, you know, not knocking the issue around, then thank you. So move we note. All in favour? Thank you. 16C then, there's been a few complaints to the council since the last time we had such a report.
Not wanting to go over these in a great deal of detail, but it just goes to show that we are recording complaints, that we take feedback from the public seriously, and it highlights the action that we're taking. These are the total number of complaints that we received in a quarter. So for an organisation such as us, it's I think that's to be celebrated is the wrong word, isn't it? But just recognise, and you see the extent, toilets, and we're dealing with those. Yeah.
Well, I think the takeaway is that considering the number of people that come through the council events and one thing and another, to keep the number of complaints so manageable that each one can be dealt with, you know, almost on a personal level, I think says it all really, because each person who's made a complaint there is getting, you know, a real and genuine response, rather than it just being going through some kind of automated system and you know, people feeling dissatisfied. So for whatever reason they've had to complain, I'm sure you know, the responses there show that they're being dealt with in a timely and appropriate manner. So thanks. Councillor Owen.
I just wanted to check on the hanging basket. Have we reviewed the other ones that we do have to make sure the brackets are sufficient?
Yeah, that one shouldn't have been fixed with the fittings. It was fitted with Dr. Long. Yeah,
So
yeah.
we have reviewed all the others to make sure that
Yeah,
it wouldn't.
Henry insisted that the team went out to check.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank
There
you.
are no hanging baskets out, but we'll obviously pick it up for future as well.
Great.
Just so
Yeah.
you're clear. So.
Yeah, thank you for picking that up. Councillor Upton?
No comments exactly on these complaints, but given the way that it's laid out, that the complaint and action taken, might it be worth noting, if appropriate, perhaps like a general idea of whether the response from the complainant, whether they were happy with our result or whether they're still unhappy? It might be useful to us for forward planning and things like that moving forward.
So I have to these. It's a, you know, there isn't any follow-up action. It's you've given us a complaint. We've dealt with it. We apologise for any inconvenience. Thank you very much. Don't really want to go back and say, are you satisfied with the complaint? Because it just becomes extremely messy at that point. Okay.
Suggestion was more that even if the response was just a okay, thank you, just whether we note that down, that's all. But
The response from the
yeah,
complainant?
because you might get someone who says thank you, but I'm not satisfied with this, or you might get someone who says brilliant, thank you. You know, whether there's a
I get the point.
So whether
it's
our response was
satisfactory
to...
and whether because that's one of the elements to where we learn from mishaps and errors, and that
Do we get a lot of feedback, you know, response to our response?
No, and I do understand. I do understand the point, because especially where there's an area of interpretation whether something is good or not. But with some of these, hand dryer, the toilets were dirty. We've said, right, we're going to clean them. It's done, isn't it? As far as we're concerned, I don't really want to invite further dialogue, because I have to treat that as a complaint. So if somebody says no, I'm not satisfied, then I say, right, that's still a complaint, and I have to resolve that. What I will do, and I do understand the point, Councillor Upton, is that if we do get any feedback from these, even if it's an okay, thanks, I'll note it. I'll note it and include it on any report. But what I wouldn't want to do is go, you know, can you send it?
Inviting
Yeah.
a secondary...
If that's okay, I'm happy. I think we can do that. Yeah.
Lovely. Councillor Moore?
I think I'm not sure exactly how best to word it, but with what a good job our clerk and team do with dealing with the complaints and stuff. We do obviously know that a lot of people tend to take to social media and things rather than putting in proper complaints. I'd sort of like take an opportunity to sort of remind the public that they can reach out directly to the council with any complaints that they have, and they will be looked at, you know, seriously and effectively by the team. Not necessarily going to social media is going to, you know, obviously as councillors, if we pick them up, we'll obviously then liaise with the team here. But the public can go directly to the offices, and perhaps a share of the appropriate email addresses and things like that via social media, just to show that, you know, not only have we effectively dealt with complaints in the past, we continue to aim to do so, and you know, the feedback is welcomed and such, so that just raises public awareness, because I do feel like as councillors we do have to sort of bring you know, sometimes entire threads where there might be 30, 50 comments or something like that on there, and we have to kind of amalgamate that ourselves and then put in, whereas the public can obviously represent themselves perfectly well using this effective system that we clearly have. So I think, you know, opportunity to highlight that, really.
Yeah, and a lot of councillors do have that open dialogue with the public, which I think is great. And, you know, it's almost like complaints are dealt with that way, with, you know, explanations being given and contact being made and, you know, solutions and explanations provided, yeah, without it becoming an official complaint, as it were, which is what we're all here for, isn't it? You know, to be that go between and that voice, taking the messages to and from. Yeah.
Happy with that as a suggestion to promote the complaint. Absolutely.
Yeah. But I don't know. Perhaps it needs a different different name promoting the complaints procedure. But yeah, yeah. Sorry, I'm just used to things being renamed to make them sound less negative. Now that I'm in a teaching role. Great. Okay. Thank you very much. I think that's move we note. Thank you. All in favour? Great. So, report from the finance officer on sundry creditors that we have there. Any not complaints? Any comments or questions? Move we note. Move. Yes. Sorry, to adopt. Yes. Move we adopt. Seconded. All in favour? Thank you. Oh, just refilling. So I thought you were waving goodbye. And item 18 then, report from the operations manager, to note, discuss and approve issues about street lighting tender, public toilet cleaning tender, central car park exit, Powys Market Cafe extraction system, effects of Storm Dara, the Guildhall heating and asset management.
So, no need to go into any great deal of detail on these. Just one, yeah, it is an update report. Just goes to show the extent of what we're doing. We are looking at, so we are quite a big asset holder now. Potentially, members have talked about potentially growing. If we do grow, we are going to have to sort of make sure that our systems and processes at the back office are robust. And one of the options in a view to look towards efficiency and effectiveness is to look at a software system where all our assets are logged, all the reports can be logged, and so we have more intelligence on each of our assets. So, for example, street lights down one area are always out or they're always blowing. For example, we know that now, but it is based on us knowing as opposed to having data. Yeah. So, we're just looking at as an option. The Guildhall heating is a significant issue for us. We had a week before, was it before Christmas, Sandra, where it was just bitterly cold because the heating system had failed. It's a very old system, and the building is very energy inefficient. So, alongside that, we are looking at secondary glazing. So, we're just getting quotes on that just to improve the thermal efficiency here.
Internal or external?
Internal. External would just be a conservation difficulty. Yeah. Two tenders out, street lighting, public toilets, and yeah, so it's a good updates and lots of work.
Yeah, absolutely. Any comments, questions for the clerk on that? Councillor Upton.
For a point of order, are we voting to adopt each individual item or the report as a whole?
The report, just to note.
No, the report as a whole, please, if that's possible.
You moving?
No, I wish to abstain.
Right, I'll move that we note the report then. Seconder? Thank you. All in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? Thank you. Okay, so we move back now to item 11. The issue of the extension to the free Saturday bus travel in Oswestry. So, this has been moved so that we can discuss or decide what we're going to discuss in public and whether there's anything to discuss in private session. Councillor Upton.
It was just more that, given that it's 20 to 9, in the event that we are still discussing this after 9 o'clock, please can we...
We have
half an hour. Oh,
we have 50 minutes, Councillor. Yeah.
Well, if it's the will of the council, I think that's my standard response. So, just to guide this, I think that the discussion around whether or not to offer free travel is one, and my advice would be that's one that you should be having in public as a public interest. It's not contractual or commercially sensitive, so it'd be difficult to exclude the public and press on that matter. However, if you did wish to discuss any or propose any terms with the provider, then that should be, you should vote to exclude the public and press at that point and resolve accordingly. You can have 2 resolutions on this. I think that would be fine. Is it worth me just providing a little bit of an overview of this? I think the agenda item I've pulled together is fairly clear. I hope it's fairly clear. You've always wanted to provide free bus travel across Oswestry. There was a service that wasn't being provided. I get confused with the numbers because I think they change. But there was a part of Oswestry that wasn't being served. You've always wanted to bring that into the scheme. Yeah. Shropshire Council went out to tender to commission that. They have commissioned that, and the providers begin offering free bus travel immediately. Now, clearly we haven't. Although it's the will of the council, I believe you haven't signed that off. The financial implications, as I see it, are fairly negligible. You have tonight approved a budget of 15,000, and I've looked at the last few bills on this, and they vary significantly, but the most has been about 570 to 600 quid. So times 12, that's, you've got sufficient in the budget, and to cover the extension as well. So I think the other issue, and there have been other issues there, complete breakdown of communication between the 3 parties involved, needs to be concluded. I would also say that as a condition of you offering this to the provider, that you should ask for, on the back of the bus, it's say provided by Oswestry Town Council as a condition, if possible, because it currently doesn't. Your contribution is not recognised in the way it should be. So I'll shut up at that point. But if you are tempted to get into contractual stuff, then pause.
Well, the bid buses always did, the ones that they were paying for, it always said provided by bid on the back end, the weekend sort of booze cruise transport.
But they have the moving
Yes.
ticket tape thing, don't they? And that should say free bus courtesy of Oswestry Town Council.
Yeah, I think that's a really, really good point. Councillor Owen.
Thank you. I think the council is unanimous as far as offering free bus travel. I think we should highlight that we shouldn't just automatically take on any new routes that are commissioned by Shropshire Council without first being consulted on it. While in this occasion we are most likely happy to take on this route, we shouldn't be just expected to and be billed for it before being able to make a decision. At the end of the day, this money isn't ours, it is people of Oswestry, and therefore it definitely shouldn't be the Shropshire Councils or the provider to make that decision to spend that money without first consulting council. So I just wanted to highlight that. Basically, it was a matter of we definitely need to make sure that that communication does go forward, where if new routes are being commissioned and it's within this scheme, it's being provided on a Saturday and we might want to take it on, we're part of that discussion of whether it's going to happen or not.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 100% agree on that. Councillor Coburn.
Yeah, I think the money is coming from the people of Oswestry, and I think it should cover the whole of Oswestry. I think the principle should be that if we're providing free Saturday bus travel, it should be for all the buses that service Oswestry. When we were talking about the traffic restrictions earlier, I think we noted that it's a lot easier if you have a unified policy covering the town rather than bits scattered over the place, and I think the same applies. If you can say free bus travel in Oswestry on a Saturday, supported by the town council, that's a lot easier to communicate than certain bus services have free Saturday bus travel, and that's what I would propose.
Yes, thank you. Sorry, that's what you propose. Sorry, could you just clarify that?
So I would propose that we, as in the paperwork, that the free Saturday travel includes all parts of the town. That the principle is that we cover all parts of the town, though any extra additional services would have to be taken on a case-by-case basis, but the principle is that we should provide full free bus travel on Saturdays within Oswestry.
So just in terms of that, just going a little step further, Councillor Coburn, just so this has happened automatically, so that the council approve each additional bit, I think would pick up what you said, James, as well, if that's okay.
Yeah, recognising that this has happened, this has become part of our adopted service that we pay for, and that we request that, if at all possible, the acknowledgement is put that it is provided by the town council. Expect, yes. I'm happy to second that then. Any further comments, or Councillor Upton?
I agree with everything that Councillor Coburn has said. I have a couple of queries, though, more to the point of that would this be applicable to Oswestry services that are only provided by this provider, and if it is free on a Saturday, if, say, it is a journey that is if it is a service that is provided by the same provider between Oswestry and another town, would the free service be only applicable until that service reaches the nearest stop towards the end of the town boundary?
So the scheme as you've got it is the town centre routes. It doesn't go beyond the boundary in any shape or form, so it's not been offered, should not be offered, and don't believe it is offered on any other routes. There is a discussion later on if you wanted to expand it, you know, and you, for example, Oswestry to Gabowen Hospital, Oswestry to Gabowen Station, but that's not within the scheme. It is Oswestry town centre routes, and it's so in a way it's irrespective of the provider, but it is a single provider. So and you'd have to, if the provider changed, you'd have to agree with them, because this is subject to their agreement as well. So yeah, I think the answer is yes, but yeah.
That is fine. I just wanted to seek clarification based on the idea of all bus services in Oswestry.
As long as it's town centre specific. Binghamton, Oswestry.
Yeah, currently the start point and the end point, both within Oswestry without leaving, as it were.
I certainly don't want to subsidise people leaving Oswestry on a Saturday.
Otherwise, the X5 will be very expensive.
Good point. So, are we happy with that then? All in favour? Thank you. Unanimous. Great. So that's that, isn't it? So that was the last item, because there's no private session, is
that's
that right?
However, if
Unless
unless you want to have a discussion, which is
Can I propose we go into private session to discuss the delegated powers that we give to the clerk to negotiate in the future?
you certainly can propose that. Is there a seconder? Yeah, there is a seconder.
So let's go through the exact wording then, just for the record. So you're resolving by the Public Bodies Admissions Meetings Act 1960, and as per the provisions of the schedule therein, and that's the legislation that you're using. Okay, so we just need to vote on it.
On the grounds that they involve the likely disclosure of exempt information as defined by the Acts. So you're clear that it's likely that that's going to happen, and that's what you're proposing, and it's been seconded. Okay, how does council feel? All in favour? Okay, unanimous. So can we exclude the...
Yeah, so for everybody online, I'm just going to leave the meeting now. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Paul, and thank you, Henry.
Yeah, thank you for joining us.